This question might seem silly given how relevant this game currently is and how much it's probably popping up on your Twitter feed as much as it is on mine, but after the peak of any popular game, this question should warrant at least some kind of discussion since the relevancy of any popular video game will always wane at some point. Now, I'm not implying that Nickelodeon All-Stars will die out anytime soon. In fact, I think this game has the potential to last months, if not even years from now, if the developers give it the proper treatment it deserves. We've seen plenty of examples of games that had a lot of potential to be a staple in the gaming community, but the developers just kind of end up not capitalizing on their game's success and not listen to their audience, ultimately. A good example being Fall Guys last year in the summer was one of the hottest games of that year that everyone was playing and was at its core a really fun party game, and it definitely had some potential to remain relevant, but the developers simply took too long for more updates to keep the player base entertained, and we all moved on to Among Us. But the fact of the matter is that for a studio their size, they actually didn't take that long for a new update. But the fact of the matter is that gamers' attentions are constantly fleeting, so if you don't feel the demand for new content fast enough, they will move on from your game without a second thought, okay? They're fucking ruthless. All this to say though, from about a week of Nickelodeon's release, the developers have already begun patching out unbalances in the character roster and fixing bugs that players have been complaining about since day one, so if that's any indication to go off of, then I think Nickelodeon is headed down a good path. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible for the game to fall off either. I have already played my fair share of this game and I enjoy it quite a bit, but I can't deny that the finished product does lack a certain amount of polish visually, and the lack of voices and sound effects definitely holds it back in the presentation department, especially compared to Smash and Rivals of Aether, for example. And this exact lack of polish visually seems to be holding back a lot of players from trying it out, since on the surface it just appears to be unfinished and just like not a good game in general. The first impression is very important to sell people on your game, even if the core gameplay is good, in which Nick's case I definitely think it is. According to some words from the devs, however, the game should be looking completely different in about a year from now and will supposedly be a lot more polished by then, but your game can definitely die in that time frame and can easily fall off in favor of the player base just going back to Smash or whatever fighting game they play. I sincerely hope it doesn't, because the game is a lot of fun and it has a lot of potential to be a competitive game in the long run, but I think the core audience that has been keeping the game alive for this long just seems to enjoy it for the gameplay regardless of the issues with the presentation. But there's still some steps they gotta take to keep this game afloat. Alright, first thing is first, the most important aspect of keeping a fighting game relevant, just come out with new updates at a regular pace so we can anticipate new content along with balance changes that the game needs to keep players coming back for a long period of time. I also think this game would benefit with some aesthetic changes in the menus, just to keep this game a little more interesting and just to give it its own identity, as well as just fixing up some of the keyframes on the characters' animations, along with proper sound effects on all the characters' moves with voices, so the game doesn't feel monotonous to watch and play, because right now as it currently stands, the majority of the moves just kind of like do the same sound effect over and over again. You just hear a lot of like punching sound effects and it gets really boring really fast. So I'd hope that they actually update some of the sound effects with voices sooner rather than later. It would just make the game feel less monotonous to play in general and just make it more interesting. And the developers have also said that this game is accessible to modding, so to all the modders out there who want to make this game a better experience by adding sound effects, adding voices, adding characters, whatever you want to do, it's open to that. So at least the developers have given us the opportunity to make improvements on the game that they might not want to. It sounds lazy, but a lot of developers do this. It's not a super uncommon thing, unfortunately, but you know, it's still a nice thing for them to do at least. Another good thing they can do is take a page out of Smash Bros.'s book and keep coming out with new characters on a consistent basis just to keep the hype train alive. This game can stay relevant, and in a year from now it can have a whole new roster of characters, new visual changes and audio changes, and I think this game could ultimately stand out even amongst Smash and Rivals and many other fighting games. Honestly, I think it has the potential to be really hyped to watch, and I can't wait for the future of this game, to be honest. I really do hope it succeeds. But the developers of this game, whoever they are, I forget their name, don't fall to the pitfalls that other developers have had in making a popular game. Just listen to the audience and give them what they want. Give us fair balance changes so the game can continue to be relevant, add new characters, and I sincerely do hope again that this game stays relevant. I want it to. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it can even stand up to the likes of Smash and maybe other fighting games in the future, and can be a staple in the fighting game community. So I sincerely hope that future actually comes to light. One last thing I want to know before I end off the video: I'm a Reptar main, and if you want the smoke, leave it in the comments. Leave your friend code in the comments. I'll give you the work right now. I'm kidding, but also I'm kind of not. Anyways, that's all I gotta say for now. Thanks for watching. Nickelodeon's better than Smash. I mean, what? No, who said that?